What's up, Wizards? It's Dev from some Mtg. We like it a magic. And look, I know you are ready for some Wilds of Eldraine spoilers. We all are, but we got to wait a couple of more days. If you're watching this in the future, of course, disregard that statement. But one of the ways that I've always liked to fill the schedule while we're looking forward to a new set is going to look into the past at some sets we haven't dug into in a while. And that is what we have been doing lately. Just got the top 10 Homelands cards out the other day. I finally got to do that one. It was a lot of fun. Check it out. Link in the description if you haven't seen it yet. Quick aside, though, stop asking me in the comment section of that video to do the top 10 Fallen Empires cards next. I've already done it. Link in the description, too. You want to check that one out. But we got one more stop on the Memory Railroad. Is that a thing that people say? Probably not. Before we pull into the station of the present. Weirdly worded and kind of frenetic intro so far, but it's all building to something. We got one more video before we get to spoiler season, and I want to use our time wisely. Let's look at the top 10 hidden gems from forgotten sets.
And I'm your favorite Magic Channel's favorite Magic Channel. Best believe that the professor go bananas for my deck tech.
And we're back, so you can like and subscribe. You know, in between the takes there, I was considering doing a bit where I hold the video hostage until you like and subscribe. I just sit on the couch and look through cards and don't say anything for 15 minutes. And then I start the video at the 20-minute mark or whatever. But I'm pretty sure a lot of you would just never come back. So like and subscribe if you want to. I'm going to talk about cards. That's what you're here for. It's what you want to do. To be honest, that's kind of what I want to do. It's why I turned the camera on. So let's get to the honorable mentions. Now, this video is from Planeshift, the middle set in the Invasion block, which is kind of a weird block positionally, right? Because it's not really in the conversation with the other old school sets, but it kind of feels old schoolish. However, a lot of the people I know who played Magic up to that point had quit by the time Invasion block dropped, but a lot of the people I know who would go on to start playing Magic hadn't started by the time this block dropped. So again, just temporally very odd positioning for a set like this. And a lot of people, even though the Invasion block was an awesome storyline, didn't really participate in this one. So a lot of cards have kind of gotten lost in the shuffle from this time period, and I want to bring up Layers for the honorable mention. Now, we'll see another card from Planeshift a little bit later, and there's a lot of really cool cards in this set, to be honest. But in terms of an honorable mention, a card that's not uber powerful or impactful, but a nice role player that you might want to consider for this or that deck, I think these Layers are actually ideal for a pick like this. Now, these come in 5 different flavors. We get Grixis, Bant, Esper, Jund, and Naya versions of these lands. Pretty good little spread, and they're just cool, right? You have to bounce a land that's non-layer when they come into play. That shouldn't be too hard, but you get to tap the land you bounce before you bounce it. Who cares? And more importantly, these come into play untapped, which is something that they have over nearly every other 3-color land in existence. So that's just powerful right there, but once you start realizing that these go particularly well in a landfall deck, you got yourself some juice. It's really good that we get both Bant and Naya versions of these lands, because again, they go so well in landfall, and those are super popular combinations for landfall decks and commanders. So if you haven't seen these yet, give them a shot. They're only about $1 to $1.50 from their original set, Planeshift, but they also came out in Dominaria Remastered as reprints, the only other time they've ever been printed ever. But I think Dominaria Remastered kind of counts as a forgotten set too, to be honest. So there's that. But from Dominaria Remastered, you can get them for 15 cents a piece. But I actually think it's kind of worth paying the buck for them to get them from Planeshift because they look really cool. But let's move on to number 10, where we'll talk about Fate Reforged for a couple of entries here. A couple of sets have more than one entry on the list, and I've kind of tried to keep them close together if possible. So Fate Reforged gets both number 10 and number 9 here. Now, Fate Reforged, really, it has both middle set itis. Sometimes the middle set gets lost in the shuffle, as well as least interesting set in the block itis objectively, I think, because, Dragons of Tarkir is a set about dragons. Who doesn't like that? Except for people who were expecting a good set out of Dragon's Maze. Sorry, RIP. And then the first set in that block is Khans of freaking Tarkir, which everyone just universally loves. So Fate Reforged already kind of had 2 strikes against it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people have forgotten it in some ways, which is a shame, because Fate Reforged is actually when I started the channel. I've got a pretty good degree of love for this set, if for no other reason than that. So let me talk first, number 10 here, about Shaman of the Great Hunt from this set. All right, so let's get this out of the way. It has 2 toughness. I don't care. Everything else is kind of really sweet on this card. It's reasonable to cast at just 4 mana, And it's got a crazy activated ability, right? 4 mana to draw who knows how many cards in a game of Commander, an average of 2, 3. Obviously, you draw at least 1 card if he's in play, but sometimes you're going to be drawing like 5 cards off of activating this ability. And it's worth noting, he doesn't tap, so he can attack the same turn he uses it, or you just go off and use it more than once, which is pretty disgusting when you think about how many cards you can actually draw off of this ability. But in the meantime, if you're not activating his ability, or maybe if you just want more out of him because you're greedy, look, I can give you more. He's got this ridiculous line of text where whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you just put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So if your dudes are getting in, you could argue this is win more, but if your dudes are getting in, they get even bigger. This card's only ever been printed once at Mythic in Reforged, and yet it's only about 60 cents to own this thing. I know you're not doing a whole lot of teamer shenanigans in Commander, I think people aren't really doing that, but just in case you are, this is a good card to remember exists. I gotta say though, every now and again I read a card that is 6 mana, and I'm still pretty impressed. That's why the other card I want to look at from Favorforged is our number 9. It's Supplant Form. Remember, this is the set that I started YouTube with, and I actually started with like a full set review of Favorforged. So I've seen every card in this set, but I do not remember this card existing like literally at all. Like, as soon as I read Shaman of the Great Hunt, I was like, oh yeah, that name's familiar. This isn't actually familiar to me at all. It's a pretty sick card. Obviously, it wasn't going to get there in Standard or anything, but in Commander, right? I know 6 mana is still kind of a lot, but again, look at read the text. Have you done that yet? You might be impressed by it. Bounce any creature on the whole table and then clone it. It can be a commander. It can be your opponent's Blightsteel Colossus. It can be one of your own guys, for a matter of fact. There's probably reasons you want to do that. Repeat that into the battlefield trigger twice, kind of. So this is actually a pretty sweet card, especially when you consider that it's instant speed. You can do this on anybody's turn during their attack step. There's probably some wacky timing stuff that you can do with this, but just the fact that you're putting the best creature on the table, like back in their hand and onto the battlefield on your side seems pretty gross. And it too only ever had the 1 printing in Fate Reforged. Now there's a promo printing of it that costs like $3 and actually looks like pretty cool, to be honest. That's a look pretty cool card, but the normal version of this card from Favorforged is only about 50 cents, half of an American dollar, to get your hands on an effect that's probably going to do something in a game of Commander if you cast it at the right time. Now, our number 8 this time is from Mirrodin Besieged, and I see the arguments coming. You could definitely say this is the least forgotten of the forgotten sets in this video, but it's from well over a decade ago. It suffers, again, middle set itis, especially this time around, where the 2 sets that bracket it are Scars of Mirrodin and New Phyrexia. So very important sets. Just after that, we go to Innistrad, a set that's universally loved. And before the Mirrodin return block, we just went to Zendikar for the first time, and that has Rise of the Eldrazi and stuff. So of all the things in this like 1 year time period, I would say Mirrodin Besieged is definitely the least popular set. And you can tell that by looking through some of the cards. And as a result, it can be easy to miss stuff like Galvanoth here. Now, I know this costs 5 mana, but again, I'm always most interested in the text box. And this is a cool one. Beginning of your upkeep, check out the top card of your library. If it's instant or sorcery, play without paying its casting cost. That is some pretty powerful stuff in a Commander environment where you can just have top in your deck. It seems like a good little combo there. We just talked about Soothsaying in a recent video where we talked about like budget replacements for Commander staples. We were trying to replace Sensei's Divining Top. Turns out Soothsaying is kind of even better with a Galvanoth than a top would be theoretically. Just really get to thinking about all the fat 6 and 7 mana sorceries that can jump off the top of your library and onto the stack because of this thing. We just looked at Supplant Form. That's honey and hot sauce. Put them together, like what a ridiculous looking card this is that does require some setup, but it ain't too expensive to try out. Again, 1 American quarter, and it's actually been printed more than once. It's been printed twice, both again in Mirrodin Besieged, and then in the Izzet versus Golgari dual decks. But that is it, and its price remains really cheap, so if you want to try it out, it's not too tough. Now, for number 7, we come to Portal Second Age. Almost forgotten. People remember the first Portal. People really remember Three Kingdoms because every card in that set cost $1 million. But as far as, again, not every set on here is going to be a middle set, but a lot of them are. But I think that you could make the argument Portal Second Age is the most forgotten of the middle sets. That means a couple of things got lost in the shuffle, if you'll pardon the pun. Does that even count as a pun at this point? I feel like it's too easy. But one way or the other, let's take a look, not at Steam Catapult. I thought it was going to be Steam Catapult. Look at this. It's a 5-mana white Royal Assassin. Did you know this existed? I didn't. Somebody does, though. It's like $5, so I guess some people are aware of this card's existence. But in the end, I didn't go with Steam Catapult. It's probably too slow. It's a clunker. I don't know about that, but I was excited about it. The actual card I think I'm going to put in this slot is Rally the Troops. Okay, so again, this is kind of a color-shifted card for white, but it's not a Royal Assassin this time. Instead, we get a conditional white Vitalize, which is really interesting. Now, Vitalize itself has only ever been printed a couple of times, and it hovers around $1 because it's obviously really good in Elves decks and Commander. Untap all your dorks to get more mana. Throw it up under an Isochron Scepter, feeling pretty good about yourself, but you can do some of the same stuff with this card, only again, color-shifted to white for only a single mana. That's a pretty good deal, actually. Again, it's conditional, timing-based in this case, right? You can only do it when you're being attacked, but that's going to happen every now and again, and untap all of your guys has been proven to be a really strong effect in the past. This card, too, has been printed at least twice, but the other printing, I believe, is in Portal 3 Kingdoms and costs like $22. Don't get that one. Get this one, because the one from Portal Second Age is like 50 cents if you're looking to play it. You should probably get that one. Now for number 6, Pop Quiz Hotshot. Can you name all the sets in the Lorwyn block in order? Bet you can't. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lorwyn Morningtide, Shadowmoor Eveningtide. It's not actually that hard if you know it, but I bet only like 7 of you down there in the comment section actually knew this as quickly as that, right? And the probably 70% of you weren't playing around the time these sets were released. Really sadly, but you'll learn. You'll learn soon enough about lore. When we're going back soon, it's going to be awesome. My point is, I promise that I do have one occasionally, is that it can be hard to keep up with all of the cards and all of the sets even from this block, especially if you weren't playing back then, and I imagine a lot of you weren't. So today we're going to look at a card from Morningtide called Sigil Tracer. Now, this is just a 3-mana 2/2 Merfolk Wizard, which is a relevant creature type once you read the rest of the card, because if you pay 1 and a blue and then tap 2 untapped wizards you control, you just get to copy an instant or sorcery. That's ludicrous. There are a couple of cool things about this, man. First of all, it doesn't say tap 2 other wizards you control. It can tap for its own ability, which is just delicious. But there's also the fact that, I don't know if you caught this, it's kind of sly, you don't have to copy your own spells. It doesn't say a spell you control, just an instant or sorcery. So you can copy your opponent's spells with this. And maybe the best thing of all, perhaps, I don't know, all of these things are cool. If you have multiple wizards out and multiple mana laying around, you can copy the same spell more than once, which is just bonkers. And I have never seen this thing before in my life, which is especially weird because I played a lot. I think that's actually when I played like the most competitively. I went to the most like big-ish tournaments around the time Lorwyn block was a thing. I played fairies for a year and a half. I've told stories about it before and all that. Never seen this guy in my life. I have never seen this thing even once, which is amazing, especially now that we talk so much about Commander. But I guess somebody knows it exists. It's about $5 or $6 in some cases to get a copy of this. So it's not super duper cheap. And maybe the reason for that is because it's only ever been printed in Morningtide. They have never printed this card outside of that set even once ever. The one printing ever, which might be one of the things that's keeping its price sort of artificially high here. But it might also be $6 because it's a very playable Commander card. Maybe people get that by now. But just in case you hadn't seen this card like me, introduce yourself. Now for number 5, I said we go back to Planeshift. I was not lying. Man of my word. Let's take a look at Dark Suspicions for this one. Now, there were a few cards in Planeshift that I kind of wanted for this slot, but I felt like they've been printed too often or too popular. I'd heard of them, things like Phyrexian Tyranny, which is just a dope card. I still wanted it in the video somewhere, so look at it, read it, it's awesome. But I had never heard of Dark Suspicions, and I don't know if you have either, but it's a cool little card. It's kind of like a reverse Rack or like a Black Vice or sort of like one of those, you know? It's like, instead of the usual stuff, this one's a little bit different. Each opponent is going to take damage every single turn equal to the difference in the number of cards in your respective hands, right? So any cards that they have in excess of the number of cards in your hand, they take damage equal to that difference every turn. Just a neat card, not really an effect that you see every day, and it might not be super powerful on every battle table. What? On every battlefield? On every table? I just couldn't like pick which word I wanted to use, but it might not be super powerful in every game state. Nailed it. But I think it's powerful enough in some that you might want to take a look at it. Cool little card here. And it's only 50 cents to pick this thing up right now. It's like super cheap. It has been printed another time on the list. It's even cheaper to get that thing. So if you haven't tried it out, again, really cheap to do that. What do you got to lose? But number 4 is from Scourge. Do you remember what block Scourge is from? Look, the last time I brought up Scourge in a video kind of similar to this, people in the comments were like, I remember Scourge, but I still don't feel like everyone remembers Scourge. Maybe I was the only one that quit during that time period, but I just don't feel like Scourge was the hottest set around or anything. Neither was Legions. Like, was this block really the block that we're going to die on that hill? You know what I mean? But either way, just because there weren't as many people playing during this time period doesn't mean there weren't some really cool cards in this block. One of the coolest of which is Call to the Grave. Now, this is kind of a black drop of honey. It's the most expensive drop of honey that you'll ever play, but it still kind of feels like a drop of honey, right? And if you've only got zombies out, like, you don't ever have to sacrifice guys, and you theoretically don't ever have to worry about sacrificing the enchantment itself either, because you got zombies. And so just a neat little thing here. 5 mana is kind of a lot, but this is a big, bomby, splashy effect that's going to force people to make decisions unless they just have a ton of tokens. But either way, this is a cool little effect. I've always loved stuff like this, whether it's drop of honey or Periphery Nodes with the time shifted one, but it's not Drop of Honey. It's a weird card, but either way, I've always liked stuff like that. But that means I like stuff like this an awful lot because it's got an effect that makes it asymmetrical, and that is something the other cards don't have going for them. And it's reasonably cheap. I mean, it's budget without being like 25 cents. It's about $2.50 for a copy of this card right now, but that ain't too much for an effect like this that might not be great on every table, but it's going to be good on a lot. So sweet card right here if you didn't know about it. You can also get a version of it from Magic 2012, the only other time that it's ever been printed. And it is cheaper. I think it's like $1.50 from Magic 2012, but it's also white bordered, and like, I think I like white borders more than a lot of players, but come on, you want the black bordered one. Just get it from Scourge. Now for number 3 and for number 2, as a matter of fact, we're going to look at a set that I think might be controversial in terms of its inclusion here. But I think if you ask somebody to name every single old school set, every set that came out all the way up to, say, Mercadian Masks, I think Stronghold might be one of the last ones that they remember. Even back then, Stronghold sort of suffered in terms of like people caring about it at all. I know that through the modern lens of being Magic players, we all just kind of think that the golden age, like we all just loved every set that came out. And we're like, oh, this is the best thing ever. But no, there are a lot of things said about Stronghold at the time. You could even argue that this is one of the first ever sets that had middle set-itis. So there's a lot of stuff that got lost in the shuffle. As a matter of fact, I think there's at least 2 cards to bring up from this set that you may have never seen before. And I say that because I played back then. I played a lot back then. I have never seen these 2 cards in my life. The first of these, number 3, is Mortuary. This has only ever been printed once. It may be on the reserve list for all I know. That's probably why it's only been printed once. But despite that status, again, never seen this. Never heard of this card in my life. It's 4 mana enchantment. It's actually fairly simple. Whenever a dude would go to your graveyard, just put it on top of your library instead. And then it might as well just say this on the card. This should be printed as part of the Oracle text. Hijinks ensue. There's so much you can do with an effect like this. It's a really, really powerful effect that's not on a whole lot of cards. Now, this is the 3rd or 4th most expensive card in the video at about $4.75. Yikes, but that's still south of $5 for like a really interesting card. And again, I don't know about you, but I have never seen this card in my life, and that's coming from someone that played a lot back then. So that's got to mean something too. Just a really neat piece of cardboard here. But we're staying in Stronghold for number 2, and we're going to look at a card that I had to make sure was legal in Commander. When you've come across a card like that, you know you got something special. Let's take a look at Invasion Plans. You want to talk about a balmy effect? Like, geez, look at this thing. Not only does each creature block if able, like that's already a line of text for a Magic card, but the attacking player chooses how the creatures block. Come on, man. Come on. Like, if nothing else, you're throwing this on the table and chaos will ensue. Hijinks as well, but definitely chaos. Some of my favorite cards in what Commander games I have played are the ones that just amount to a big stick stuck in the spokes of everybody else's bike. And this is definitely one that qualifies, man. And it's cheap too, even though this has only ever been printed, well, once in Stronghold and then again in the list. We got another list card here. It's only like $1.50 to own a copy of this card from Stronghold. What a steal for a card that's going to be either super annoying or perhaps beneficial, but one way or the other, it's going to make everyone at the table think differently about how they're playing Magic, and those are my favorite cards. I really don't have any clue how to tell you like how you're supposed to plan around this or anything. Just like kind of drop it, hope for the best. I'm here to have fun, and this seems fun to me, so I'm not really sure how you game plan for it. Maybe that's why it's still only $1.50, but if nothing else, you're going to get a big splashy effect, and no other game of Magic you play that night will be quite the same as the game you're playing with this thing on the table. So I highly recommend at least giving that a shot. But here we are at number 1. Again, always so proud of you for making the trek with me. But for number 1, let's take a look at Starter 1999. There are going to be people who are aware of the existence of Starter, but I imagine that number is dwindling by the day, right? I mean, in case you didn't know this, not only did we have Portal back in the day for new players, did you know that? Some of you don't, but we also had Starter, oddly enough and confusingly, around the same time. We had Starter for brand new players. And this featured a lot of interesting cards, right? Like we got a Wrath Effect that wasn't Wrath of God. We got a Jockle Hops that wasn't a Jockle Hops. There's a lot of cool cards in this set, but there's at least one that I had never come across in my entire 30-year Magic playing history that seems ridiculously powerful to me. How did I miss the existence of a card like Piracy? Was this in like packs of Starter or something? Was it not in the actual Starter product and you had to somehow come across it some other way? I'm not really sure how this exists, but again, I have never seen it in my life. It must be relatively rare though, because it was only ever printed in, well, Starter 99 and also Portal Second Age, I believe, which is the black bordered version of the card. It's about $35 to get that one, but if you want the one from Starter 1999, it's about $25. To get the white bordered one. This is one where I advocate for the white bordered one because $10 is a really massive difference in price. But I haven't even told you what the card does yet in case you're cooking, driving, working, whatever you're doing. I don't know. But what this is, friends, is 2 blue mana. You pay 2 blue mana for this. And until end of turn, you can cast spells with mana that isn't yours. Do you understand? Do you see? You can tap lands to play spells. You can tap lands that don't belong to you. It seems you're in a 3-player game when you're playing EDH, or a 4-player game. There's 3 other people is what I'm saying. So that means that you can, oh, wow. Do I have to tell you, or can I just keep exclaiming over here? Very close to letting expletives fly with how I feel about this card. It's unbelievable that I've never seen this in my life. But as we say around these parts, that is Itski Lewitsky. That's all the cards I've got to talk about today, which is also kind of exciting because that means the next time you see me with this microphone in my hand, I'm going to be talking about Wilds of Eldraine spoilers. Can't wait. Again, from the future, disregard. I'm actually going to be covering spoilers for that space set. Which one? I'm actually covering a lot of bases with that. But in any case, we donezo for this onezo. So just make sure you like the video, you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done it yet, I need subscribers. They sustain me. I need to eat. I will eat you. But one way or the other, I think it's just about all I've got. You want to watch me play some Magic on Twitch and join us for spoilers at least one night during spoiler season live on Twitch. Here's a link. Well, you can't click it. It's not a link. It just says what the thing is. If you want a link, that's in the description. Same thing with the Patreon. If you want to support me, Patreon's basically the only way I actually make money around here. The ad rates are really terrible at the moment. So I've actually got almost double the views that I usually have this time in a month. Thanks for that. But I also, for some reason, only have like half the money in AdSense I would normally have at this time. Again, ad rates are really bad. So support me over on the Patreon. It would help a lot. It's my birthday this month. Doesn't that mean anything? Probably not. But anyway, you've listened to all that because you know what comes next. You're very wise. You know not to click away because we still have to do the couch card of the video. I keep saying, people say that I select from this side of the couch too often. So let's go over to this side of the couch and see what we get. I'm going to dig a little bit and see what this card is. I had another one that was trying to come with me. This is why we don't do this side of the couch too often. This time we got Heroic Charge. It's like 2 kind of bad cards in a row, I think. We got Scav Wrangler not long ago, but Heroic Charge is 4 mana, 2/2 white for an instant with kicker, 1 and a red. Creatures you control get +2/+1 till end of turn if the spell was kicked. The creatures also gain trample until end of turn. You see how you checked out halfway through the card because you know it's bad? It's pretty bad. So that's all I've landed in the litter box. I guess it's appropriate, but it really did, by the way. 100% serious. Anyway, that's all we've got for this one. You made it through the entire video. There's always 5 minutes after I say we're done, so good job. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.